Last time we met, we're forging out a bunch of these. So I've got a bunch of these in various states of completion. We have some that the handles are on, the collets are on. We've got to do some sanding, and we have to oil them. And I have a bunch of various states of readiness for grinding and all that good stuff. So let's get busy. So we're at the point now where it's time for finish grinding. So don't mind me, it's a little bit rusty because this time of year I'll use windshield fluid as coolant while I'm doing this. And if you don't wipe it right off, it does tend to rust the steel, but we're going to have all that cleaned off anyway, so it's not a big deal. But when I go to heat treat and temper these, I leave this cutting edge. This is 1/8 inch thick pretty well all the way down. And we start getting our bevel right here. So we're doing kind of a hollow grind bevel and then a bit of an appleseed edge here. Kind of like an S grind, I guess would be the proper way of calling it. So we're going to do all this on the 120 grit paper because I've already taken quite a bit of this down with 60 grit. But what that 120 grit will do for us, we have some deep striations here from the 36 grit belt, just because this was, not as flat. They're not perfectly flat once you get going on them. And I'm going to refine this bevel and this cutting edge with the 120 grit belt. Now when I'm finished grinding, I'm doing it all on this 10-inch contact wheel, and that makes it all so much better. Is that 10 or 12? I can't remember. It might even be 12. But you can see we have our temper colors on here. So yeah, let's get after it. This belt right here makes everything kind of come together really nicely. So even right now, with 120 grit finish on it, it still looks kind of rough. It still looks like it needs some refining. Now we do a very slight back bevel on this, very slight, and that just helps keep this thing from digging in too much. But we want to get all this kind of blended in, nice and smooth. We don't want to see a bunch of sharp grind lines there to where I transition from that hollow grind to that appleseed edge. And plus any of the little inconsistencies in my grinding, this belt right here will blend them in nicely. Same thing with the back here. Very nice finish on that. Now I cheat wicked for my steel collets that go on the draw knives. This is 3/4 inch Schedule 40 black iron pipe, but it polishes up nice. I cut it with a set of cutters, so it leaves a little ridge on the inside. So I take my little die grinder and get that out of there. I see a lot of mixed feelings on burning your handles on. A lot of blacksmiths and makers like it, a lot of them don't. I think it's your own preference, but little thing I've learned to do is after I burn this on, I'll take it back over to the drill press and I'll take the drill bit that I used to drill that hole and clean out all the carbon out of it so we're down to bare wood. Plus it gives it a little more room inside the handle to get a nice epoxy coat in there. But the other thing I don't do is I don't get this thing glowing cherry red. You don't need to. I don't want to screw up my metal. I don't want to get too much heat running down here. I mean, granted on the spine it won't hurt too much, but it's not the program I want to do. Let this smoke vent as you go too, otherwise you might split the handle. Don't ask me how I learned that. And I prefer to kind of go easy with it. When I first started doing these handles and all this stuff was the longest part of the process. But as I'm getting better copying on the lathe, and as I'm getting my process refined, it's actually turning into it's the quickest part. The longest part I'm finding is actually grinding. Grinding from the rough stock after forging. Now I could do a lot more brute to forge, but I kind of like refined tools myself that I'm going to work with. And as you go, you're starting to do the batch work. I've got a few more of these made in the house, handles drying up still. But I'm finding I can get a little more consistency. Now I get little oddball pieces here and there that I'm not real thrilled with. Say if I cut my groove in there a little bit too far down like on this one, and that's more what I'm looking for right there. But I mean, they're all the same, but they're all unique in a way, and I kind of enjoy that. Now, I do enjoy getting the linseed oil on the handles. And I do tend to put a lot on. I like to soak it right in there. Of course, I'll get it all over everything else. But linseed oil is just a nice finish, especially if you're baking it in there. It soaks into the wood really well. It's kind of been a go-to for tool handles for a long time. And it's pretty much, from my understanding of it, it's pretty much poly without the hardeners. But I will say, if you get it on the metal, wipe it off, it creates a kind of an off-colored film that once it dries, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get off. As I sharpen each one of these, I like to test them out. And what better way to test them than on this nice bow stave. It's nice and dry. It's real easy to make something look like it cuts great with nice green wood. But what I'm looking for, I want to see how that edge geometry is doing for me. I want to test all aspects of the edge. I want to make sure that that's sharp enough to take small shavings off. We want to see how it goes beveled down. I'm getting more to where I'm grinding these to work bevel up. Seems a little more controllable. And what I'm looking for is I don't want this thing to dig in too deep. So we're going to use it like a scraper. It's not too bad. The other way I build these is kind of why I like this straighter handle design, is I can push a little bit with it. So that geometry is kind of where I want it. And it still feels like it just came off of the, it feels like I just put the edge on it. So that's what we're looking for. that's it for this week in the work on our draw shaves, draw knives, whatever you want to call them. I'm starting to list them as draw shaves because I'm finding that some of the algorithms don't really care for you saying knives. I guess it's just the world we live in. So there's going to be 5 of them ready. They'll probably be, I'll unpause the website probably tonight, soon after this video comes out. I'll unpause the website. These will be available, these 5. I'm not sure how I'm working pre-orders and back order type stuff yet, but we're going to start with these. I've got a bunch more forged out, but I'm also working on at the same time, out of the end cuts off of the blanks for these draw knives, I'm working on our short little, got a bunch of stock for these guys right here that we're going to start making those little ones also at the same time. Now, I also have a bunch of other scraps, you know, small cuts. We're going to be making little skinning knives, and as we get things made, we'll list them on the website. But once I want to get a decent number of draw knives, you know, the big ones and the small ones, on the site. My son just fired up the table saw upstairs, awful nice of him. He's taken over my wood shop, which is okay. I'd rather have him do that than see him on the, you know, the brainwash box. But anyway, we get some more draw knives made, get them listed, get those out of here. Next thing we're going to be working on is starting on some timber framing chisels and slicks. So I've got to learn how to do chisel sockets. I've got a couple ideas in mind. I've seen a couple things I like, trying to decide whether I want to forge weld them, you know, the sockets, or if I want to do the, you'll have to see when we get to that point. But that'll be the next one, and we're going to test them vigorously before we list any for sale, and I want to make sure I'm really good at making them before I go and send them out. I'm just getting to the point now where the draw knives, I'm very comfortable making them. It gets easier all the time. I can't even be mad at them. I'm just happy to see them in the shop. So I want to be good at them before I list them up for sale. I don't want to send anything out that's going to be junk to where you guys use it and it breaks. Now the draw knives I'm making, I've made enough of them now. I have a system down. I like how I'm making them. I've really refined the heat treatment process down quite a bit. So those are easy for me now. They're time consuming, but they're easy. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's just kind of a shop update, what we're doing, where things are. We're just going to keep going. So take it easy, and I'll see you on the next one.